So hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ongwe Mwangi and I'm a Kenyan RN. I do videos on patient teaching, health education as well as nurse education. And today I want to do a video specifically for nursing students. And this is about how to succeed in nursing school. And I'm going to give 6 tips in this video. So if you're in nursing school and probably you are struggling or you have just started, then this is for you. If you're new here, please take your time to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you're notified every time I upload an informative video. And if you're a returning subscriber, know that I deeply appreciate you. And so let's dive right in. So tip number 1 is identifying what type of a student you are or what type of a learner you are. Are you a visual learner? Are you a studious learner? Are you able to learn more on audiovisual platforms? What specifically works for you is the first thing you're going to identify. However, this is not something that will come naturally. You will have to figure out on the way. But thank God this is not your first schooling and this is not your first learning experience, and therefore you already know what kind of learning you kind of enjoy and you get most out of. However, nursing school is quite hard. You have to be really studious. You really have to study. You have to put in the hours. You have to put in the hard work, and therefore you have to really identify this as fast as possible and not waste so much time in this, so that you're able to choose your study methods wisely. So tip number 2 is take concise notes. I cannot ever emphasize on this one. It is important to take shorthand notes and fast, because they are not going to spoon feed you. They are going to be so fast. They are going to dictate. If it's dictation of notes, it's going to be really fast. If it is teaching in class, you have to move with the pace of the lecturer. Sometimes the professor may be too fast and you cannot have to write every single little detail. Therefore, you need to have to know how to develop your own small codes, so that some words just mean something to you as fast as you can, so that you're able to do that in a shorthand and not waste a lot of time. In nursing school, a good amount of time will be spent in class, especially if you're doing BSN right here in Kenya, meaning you're in a university setup. A lot of your hours, a lot of nurse learning hours are usually in class. And therefore, since you can be in class from, let's say, 7 a.m. to about 5 p.m. continuously, probably with just a few minutes of break and 1 hour of lunch break, it means you will be seated for quite a long time. So most lessons, our time used to be 2 hours and 3 hours. So if you have let's say a 7 a.m. class, it could be a block of between 7 to 10 a.m. or to 11. So those are quite a number of hours, and since you are still fresh, it is easy to navigate through that part. But then there is the mid-morning session, and remember, you cannot be sleeping. You might be exhausted because you had to do your assignments and you had to do a lot of work during the night, but again, you really need to put in the hours. So you have to take as good notes as possible as you can, and therefore you didn't have to do this fast. You do not have to have a good handwriting. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's not time to do pretty things. It's just time to do notes that work for you and that you're able to record as much as possible in a very short time. Tip number 3 is go over your notes at least 3 times. Usually where I went to school in Kenyatta University. We used to have 2 cuts, then the main exam. So I used to make sure just before the 2 cuts, at least once before the first cut, I have gone through the notes, and then I have done my takeaway assignment religiously, and I have done it myself, so that I actually get those concepts. If you have to participate in discussions, please do as well. But most importantly, you have to go through those notes at least thrice. So I would go through them the first time just to see if they make any sense, because sometimes when I would be writing it, I would be so fast. Sometimes I have to use some code words that are new, and sometimes I even forget my own code, and therefore I will have to come back and remember what this abbreviation means to me at that point in time. The next, when I'm doing this second reading, I will make another short notes, like the thing you call Mwakenya. And this is what I used to now organize my thinking and my concepts about this topic or this lecture. And then Again, I will go again through these notes that I have made, these shorthand notes, in a more neater, more summarized way for studying for the main exam. So because the main exam will cover from cover to cover of that unit that was covered during that semester, I had to go through the entire content the whole semester. Usually for the cuts, usually you will know from where to cover, because they will tell you they will come from a number of topics, and then you will have to consolidate your reading on those topics. Probably by the time you're doing cut 2, you have covered more topics than when you're doing cut 1. And cuts in full is continuous assessment tests. So when you're doing the second cut, probably you have covered more topics, so it's a little bit harder than the first one, or it covers more ground than the first one, but again, you have the ability to pass because you have already done your shorthand notes, you have also done you have redone your notes, and then you have gone through them again. So the final reading, I never used to take any more notes. So because I have already done notes twice, then I will just go through those short notes that I have done. So tip number 4 is utilize any platform you can, and especially YouTube videos. If you have to learn some practical skills, if you are doing nursing assessment, if you are doing those examination skills, if you are doing patient assessment history taking, practice with YouTube. Listen on YouTube about lectures on different topics, especially the ones you are struggling with, because the attitude you should have when it comes to nursing school is pass every unit with the first attempt. Because I don't know why it is so punitive, but where I went to school again, if you fail one unit, it could find you going back a whole year, because you'll have to wait for that unit to be on offer again before you to resit it and then continue with the rest. So it means you will have passed all the other units, and then that single unit will delay you a whole year, which means you will have to either go home or look for other alternative things to be doing. Because when you come back now, when it will be back in offer with the next intake, the next year's intake, it means that is the only unit you're taking that whole year. So it's a lot of waste. And again, if you are a self-sponsored student, or you're paying your own school fees, or you're utilizing help, that is very, very important for you to remember, because you will have to pay for the last trimester or semester or from your own pocket. Help will not cover that. If you're paying from the pocket, again, it sets you behind, because again, that's such a loss, you can imagine. All right. Another thing that is important to note is that there are so many helpful videos out there. Try to pick the ones that look very authentic and very scientific, or the ones that agree with what you have seen in your class or what you have seen in your textbooks. Because some may be very simplified, maybe they are meant for patient teaching or health education. So go for the ones that are meant for nurse teaching, that teaches the skill to the nurse themselves. Tip number 5 is do practice questions. So most universities, most colleges will have a database of previous exams or past papers. So invest your time in going through different past papers, so that you see the examination format, so that you're able to revise. You can also use different nursing council exams, because they will have questions on different topics that you're going through. But most importantly, ensure you do practice questions, either the ones provided in textbooks, or the ones in past papers, or the ones that you will find in the library, because some libraries will have a bank of practice questions that you can actually borrow and use. So whether it's a short-term borrowing or long-term, again, that depends with the university, but again, try as much as possible to practice with questions, because again, that will get you well versed and prepared for your final exam, because the goal here is to pass the first attempt, so that you do not remain behind and you're not left by your colleagues as they move forward. Tip number 6, and the last one, is form small discussion groups. Discussion group works because sometimes there is just so much going on in the nursing school, and so many lessons and so many concepts and so many skills you have to grasp in a very short period of time. So sometimes some concept may escape you. You may even doze in a class or two, and especially for me, it used to be really hard in the mid-morning ones. I don't know why. So those lessons that used to be around there, I used to prefer to study those topics or concepts during discussion groups, because most likely I missed something when I was dozing off. Sometimes I may not have dozed off, but I have zoomed off and I'm autopiloting. I am just not in class. I am just somewhere else. But somehow in the afternoon, I would still come back, fresh as ever, and continue with my learning. So, but most importantly, again, form discussion groups, the cohorts of all your people, the people, the people we call, my person. I know this person, or you have things that you do together other than nursing school that could be convenient. But for me, even to date, I remember the discussion that we used to have in that small discussion group, and it really helped. So that could really help you, and I want to reach there because I do not want to digress so much. But most importantly, remember, nursing school requires a lot of studying, a lot of focusing. So it's not time to be on social media all the time. It's also time to watch all the movies in the world. You can do a few of those, but again, remember, studying and balancing with the social life. So thank you so much for watching through this video. I will come back with more tips, but for today I want to end there, and thank you so much for watching, and bye.